Hey lovies, this is Christina with Karma's Eye Psychic LLC, Mystical Charms DBA here on Universal Spirit Podcast. Today we're doing another episode of the Thinky Thoughts. So today I had a thought about spiritual evolution, much like the similarities between like human evolution or the evolution of life on this planet or in this universe, survival of the fittest, so to speak. And what prompted this was actually when I was actually in Walmart buying food with my daughter, and we were picking out, at the end of food shopping, you get the ice cream last. We were picking out ice creams, and I usually, I get my kids at least 2 ice creams. Every now and again, my 2 youngest will share an ice cream, and I get one specifically for my older son because he only likes one flavor. And if they don't have that flavor, I'll substitute it, and then they'll end up sharing both boxes of ice cream. So I wanted to get strawberry ice cream. And my daughter brings up that she does not like strawberries at all. Like, she's repulsed by them. She then brought up a time where she went to Starbucks with one of her friends, and they went and got one of those strawberry refreshers, and she forgot to tell them not to put actual raw strawberries in them, and she sent it back, and she got it without strawberries. So I asked her, what, you just don't like strawberries? Because I've seen her eat them by themselves, like she's eating strawberries and cream by themselves, and she said, no, I just like them by themselves. I don't like them in other things. She even described it as it being like some form of deception if she found strawberry somewhere in her food. So I let her know again for like the 100th time, because I don't know if she's ever been listening to me, that her father is actually allergic to strawberries. So if he has strawberries, he'll get an allergic reaction, right? Get the EpiPen or get the Benadryl or whatever you got to do. He cannot eat strawberries, period. Okay. And I found that to be interesting, where now that the next generation, genetically, the next generation is no longer allergic to strawberries. It's more now, they are, I guess, physically repulsed by them, right? Even my younger son doesn't care to eat strawberries or have strawberries in anything he eats. So technically, whatever philosopher, at the top of my head, I cannot remember at the moment, who did the survival of the fittest theory in regards to human evolution, I found it to be very interesting that the generation before them would have an allergic reaction to those strawberries, and then the next generation wouldn't have an allergic reaction. However, they would just be physically, repulsed by the strawberry. Where I felt like that is a way of evolution protecting the parent, where there will be no chance of strawberries ever getting back to that parent, because the next generation is just physically repulsed by them. They look at them and just like, ew, it's gross. So there's no chance that any harm would come to the parent of that offspring who is in fact deathly allergic to that fruit. I just found that to be interesting. Then, of course, I'm an overthinker, and I wanted to know if that applied to some type of spiritual evolution, right? Where there were things, or our family before us, our ancestors, particularly who were very religious, okay, or very conservative, or very, very lacking in education, or lacking in, social cues or, social awareness to those who came before us, either through brainwashing or being limited to information, that now, and that only that the world was different, back, way back when our ancestors were alive, right? And now that like society has evolved, I would say we have evolved spiritually, right? For us to step out of those limits of religion or religions or strict ways of life that were taught as the end all be all, that were taught that you definitely have to follow this or this will happen. And the next generation being brave enough to step out of those lines, step out of that box, to then see and be able to experience that it's not bad at all. And then and that there are advantages to the things that you were restricted from. I almost feel just like the strawberries, where the previous generation would have been outcasted or shocked or shunned for exploring what you would see today or what people are openly practicing today. To see or not to no longer be harmed by those limitations, because right, let's face it, that's really what it is. It's limitations. It's a lack of access to knowledge and information, and it is a smothering type of system where you get people before you who might as well have just been followers, or they were under circumstances where they had to stay a certain way in order to gain a certain thing. I have to portray myself as religious in order for me to get, my inheritance from my mother, because she would disown me if I wasn't anything else, right? So I feel it's the same. And again, I'm always ranting here, right? Not to say that what we find today in exploring other religions and other ways of life and deeper means and deeper realms of spirituality, not that if we were to take that back to the source or to the origin or to our ancestors and it would harm them in some kind of way, because spirituality is no longer a physical thing. It's an awareness, pretty much, right? For example, I grew up, I still have my conservative family. My mother is very, very religious and very conservative religious. As soon as she picks one religion that she would like, she still believes in God, and she still believes in a hell, and she still believes in heaven and end times, and asking for forgiveness, otherwise you won't go to heaven and stuff like that. Thinking bad thoughts will send you to hell, and having bad intentions will send you to hell and stuff like that. So she keeps herself on a very supposedly straight and narrow, but if you listen to all my other podcast episodes, my mom is a deep cutthroat narcissist, okay? Because her bad deeds are not obvious, right? But she pretty much raised us like, oh, never say curse words. When kids fight you, don't fight back. Don't hit them back, because hitting is bad. And I know it sounds outrageous, but I swear to God, this is how I was raised. Okay, don't ever lie, and don't even lie if it helps you. Always tell the truth, even if it's to your detriment. Okay, and for those of you who know me, that damn sure was not my ministry. Okay, like I've lied plenty to get myself out of trouble. I've even lied to fix problems. Okay, and I still haven't gone to hell. Anyway, because it would highly disappoint her to understand that her, child that she was hoping to raise to be this straight and narrow person has turned into an occultic witch. And that is because previous generations were so afraid of hell, so afraid of death, so afraid of even making jokes about death, making jokes about hell, making jokes about God. And guys, that's all I do 24 hours a day. That's all I'm doing. I'm cracking God, devil, demon, all kinds of jokes. I'm making up scenarios, putting on skits, right? And I'm having the time of my life over here. And my mother has this like this gut-wrenching fear that, oh, now that she's doing that, she's going to go to hell, and she thinks she's laughing now, but something's going to happen to her because she has this end goal fear, right? Where I was raised the same way as she was, to believe the same things, but I'll still make fun. I will still dabble into, occultic practices and rituals, but I know what I'm doing, right? So I've read the books, I've done the things, I've visited the people, right? Got the information on the cultures and all that, right? And to this day, in her big old age, she thinks like, oh, you don't know what you're doing, you're scared, you're this, you're that. And I have to remind her that, no, actually you're scared because you won't do the research. You're too afraid to put pen to paper. You're too afraid to light that candle and make this request. You're too afraid because of what you were taught has kept you within this box, right? She's the caveman ancestor, so to speak. And I've stepped out of that box, and I realized that there's more out of this box, and not all of it is bad. Sometimes I feel as though that box is probably the scariest thing in this whole universe, but that box is not the entire universe. So I've spent a very long way of saying that spiritual evolution are just like those strawberries that cause a deadly effect to my ex-husband and just cause a repulse effect to my children, though the strawberries no longer cause harm in the bloodline, right? Because the bloodline continues to get stronger, it continues to go on, it continues to evolve. And I feel as though that would also apply to spiritual evolution, that we should not hold our children or even the next generation to any type of limiting beliefs, because there's even things that people my age and older are still not gonna know by the time we die, right? And the next generation could uncover that, or could understand that better, or in a different way, or understand it the way it was meant to, where we were, stumped and not having the answer to. So tell me what you think about that. Is there a time in your life where that applies to you at all? Have you seen some type of evolution in your family? Are things in your family getting better? Or is your family getting smarter? Or, your just overall path in general? Are things moving forward, or are things moving backwards? Because this is the age of Aquarius, guys, and these questions are going to come up. These things are going to be more obvious. It's going to become more relevant. I just want to know what you think. All right, lovies, I'll see you in the next episode. Bye.